Lies of P is an action Souls-like set in a dark Belle Epoque setting and is based on a dark twist on the Pinocchio story, and will help him on his journey to become human all the same. Comparisons to Bloodborne and even Dishonored have been made about the game, but from what we have to go over today, it's a little bit deeper than all of those similarities, even if they are only additive to the experience. So let's jump right in. How's it going, everyone? My name is Fallinghers, and today, of course, we're going over Lies of P. I'll jump right in, but if you like this video, consider subscribing. So Lies of P was reaffirmed for the original time window that it was given of 2023 at the Gamescom opening night live trailer. It is coming to pretty much every platform except for the Nintendo Switch, which means the Xbox One and PS4, and then the Xbox Series consoles, and the PS5, and of course PC. But one new thing that we do have to note is that it is also coming to Game Pass on day one, so a super big get. This game is heavily anticipated by a lot of people. I've only made one other video about this game. It did really well. And of course it is coming from the publisher of NeoWiz and the developer of Round 8 Studios. Now the most recent trailer also listed another company on it, but I couldn't find anywhere where they had updated, or I couldn't find any news of this company, whether that's another publisher or developer for a support. I don't know, but they didn't mention it. It's not mentioned anywhere on their website, but whatever. Hopping right into what I think is really interesting about the game first and foremost is actually the story and its premise. We play as P, or Pinocchio, and we will wake up in the city of Krat, which has been overwhelmed with madness and bloodlust, with one goal, and that's to find Mr. Geppetto and become human. Through this, we'll travel all over the city with these different locations, like I have these screenshots here of the cathedral, the exhibition, hotel, opera, the old town, train station, and even factories on our quest to find Geppetto. Speaking of becoming human in the factories, the reason the town is so run down is because Krat has invented the puppet machines for the workforce, but they rebelled and killed many. Sounds a lot like Detroit to me. I don't mean the real life town, I mean like Detroit become human, so it's really just Krat become human now. On the flip side, we also know that P will have to lie in order to become human, as he is also a puppet mechanoid himself. While we haven't seen any dialogue yet for Pinocchio in these trailers, it has to happen at some point, as this is a central game mechanic, which is lying and, I guess, conversing with NPCs. Lying will net you humanity points through the different quests that you'll do in the game, and that can affect your endings, depending on how many points you have, but it can also affect your interactions with NPCs, and even which enemies you'll be facing. I'd also assume we'll begin to look more human throughout if we get more of these points. But really, that's all we know about the story and its premise so far. We've been introduced to so many new characters in the most recent trailer, and it seems that Mr. Geppetto is going to be pretty sinister. I saw someone speculate that the talking lamp on the back is actually a container for Jiminy Cricket. That'd be really interesting, but I don't know if that fits. But I guess we'll have to wait and see just how well the story unfolds. It does seem that there's going to be a lot heavier of a story premise here and like involved main plot than there will be in, like, say, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, a FromSoft game. But next we're going to head over to the gameplay, which to me looks just as good as I had hoped for now that we've seen some of the HUD elements which had previously been left out of the previous trailers. So it is a Souls-like through and through. You've got your health bar, your stamina bar, but now instead of a magic bar that needs to be replenished with something like potions, it seems that we have chunks to use for our special abilities with our left hand, and that gets replenished with successful hits. I really like that the game's rewarding aggression, just like Bloodborne, but in a different way, as opposed to regaining lost health. Here you're getting more uses from your special abilities. Now, as for what we'll be using these blue segments on is actually something called Fable Arts, something you can equip on a weapon. It's basically like the special attack or the special ability or the weapon arts from, say, Dark Souls or Elden Ring. We see a couple examples of this throughout the gameplay where pretty much the player goes into a flurry and you see the bars get depleted, but they do big damage to the enemies and it seems to stun them and knock them down, or at least knock them back to stop their attacks, which is really cool and a nice little way to get a get out of jail free card. I did also notice that the blue bars fill up rather slowly. And while initially I expected that we'd be using this for our left arm instead of for the Fable Arts, I am really glad that that's the case because it does fill up really slowly, and that's gonna be a bit iffy. But speaking of that same prosthetic left arm, that brings in the whole next level of the gameplay. Coined by the developers as the slave arm, probably something to do with the fact that the marionette doll, mechanical workforce throughout the game is meant to serve humans, and even in a loading screen it does say that there is an inscription on all of them that they must tell the truth and obey humans at all costs. And probably like Pinocchio, some of them don't get that inscription, and that's probably where things start to go wrong within the lore. But regardless, back to the arm, I think it's really cool. There have been 5 confirmed attachments from their Twitter at this point, and through looking at the trailers, I've been able to suss out 4 of them, and that is the fire, the electric, the gun one, and also the grapple hook. But unfortunately, it is important to note that while you can play the game using only these attacks, you can only use one at a time. You probably can't switch them out on the fly, so hey, keep that in mind. You're probably not going to be able to do a slave arm only run. But back to the weapons though, we've got a lot to work with. There are 30 basic weapon types with over 100 possible combinations for use. This is all because the weapons are mix and match with the blade and the hilt. The blade, or hammer, or shovel head, literally whatever it is to attack with, basically affect your damage type, whether it be blunt or, slicing, and how much damage you'll do probably. But then you also have the hilt, which changes the attack motion. So you're going to be swinging it different ways based on how you're holding it on the hilt. Now you can even add in those puppet arms to increase your combination, and you've got quite a lot to work with, and I'm really excited to try all these different things out. They do mention that it is just as much about style as it is about substance, so that's really cool to me. Now, we've confirmed that there are a lot of weapons and combinations to play with, as well as standard stamina-based combat stuff with blocks, dodges, and the like. And even the new live system, there is just one more thing that we have to cover, and those are the Stargazers, which pretty much act as the bonfires of this game for like Souls games or like the Points of Grace and Elden Ring. And you can do pretty much everything you'd want to, from switching out your left arm to your other weapons, as well as mixing your different combinations of weapon and hilt, and even traveling to other Stargazers and upgrading. So pretty much literally everything you'd want. There was an interview a while back that said that they may be a little bit more forgiving than the actual bonfires of Dark Souls, so maybe they're a little more plentiful throughout this game. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I'm not really sure, but it is what it is. All the same, the game looks really fun and stylish. Another thing I did notice while watching the new gameplay that just dropped in the second day of Gamescom was actually when you're going to go pick up your souls, or whatever they're called in this, basically the currency that you drop when you die, notice in the top right side of the screen, you see the amount of souls you're carrying, and then in parentheses, the amount that you have to pick up somewhere in the world that you potentially, stand to lose if you do die again. Very interesting little thing that it's a nice little quality of life thing, and another point that really shows that they are kind of going for something that's a little more easy access, but at the same time, it still looks like it could be a very hard game. But really, that's all we know for sure about Lies of P. A 2023 release is pretty nice to hear. I will say that I expect this game to come out in the fall of next year, if it's coming out next year at all. I do expect it to be end of the year, because if it was any sooner, we would have probably gotten some kind of range if they were that confident. So I expect a fall thing. We always get our information about the game at the end of summer anyway, so maybe one more drop at the end of next summer or midsummer for like advertising, and that'll go into the end of the year. But regardless, let me know what you think of the game. For instance, I really like the visual style. I like, instead of, the blood and monsters of Bloodborne, I really enjoy the aesthetic of the kind of steampunkish kind of vibe with the marionette puppet dolls type thing going on. And one thing that I don't see enough people talking about is how horrific this game might just be. There's enemies in this game that they move unnaturally because they're robots, and just some of the environments are really creepy and dark. And I think if unsuspecting players get into certain areas, or the tensions are high enough, you don't have enough health to continue, this could be really, really intense, and I'm really excited to see just how people like the game. The visuals are also amazing, something that seems to get better every time we see it. The lighting got an amazing overhaul this time around. The character models, the up-close, the visuals, you can tell they're a lot more confident with that. They're showing those off now. But let's talk about it down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Falling Hurts, and yeah, bye.